I just had a black thought. Put your mind in gear and put your thinking cap on. I just had a black thought. Put your mind in gear and put your thinking cap on. Last thing. I don't know if many people know this. I don't know if you've even said it publicly, but talk to us. And I know you come from a musical family.
Yes,
First of all, before I even go there,
yes, sir.
Connected with Metropolitan Church, et cetera, et cetera. But talk to us. What made you make the decision to get into music and to find out what your gift was and develop it and become the person we know today? Talk to us a little bit about that.
There is absolutely a sort of inertia that takes place when someone like myself, and I'm certainly not alone, there are plenty of us. I'll say Paul McKinney is another good example, speaking of this neighborhood. When we first start out as little kids, and that music seed has been planted, long before we even realize it, that there's not about a matter of deciding, I think I might try being a musician. It's about figuring out what's the best way for me to get there. There's an instrument over here. Let me see, can I go climb up on the organ at church and play that, or beat on the drum? It's just you're figuring how to get there, because in you is this thing called music, and it's a calling. It's not about a vocational choice. I would have chosen many other things, probably if I had known, but at the same time, I really wouldn't. I'm so grateful to be able to participate in this great thing that belongs to God. It's creativity, it all belongs to Him. It's something that God has and God's infinite wisdom and I don't know, and just His love for His creation, for God's creation, for us to be able to have this thing called music and to have people, even families, generations, who have a natural, affinity for it. I have right in this neighborhood, on this ground that where we are now, my grandfather raised 4 boys and a girl, and all of them love music, and even beyond that immediate family, music has been a part of my tree. And I think about my Uncle Peanuts, who's 84, who still sounds great. He was born and raised on this property, and when I invited him to be a part of my my live recordings and some other recordings, it's an honor for me to say to the world, I'm not the first Waylon that played saxophone, And then when I present my nephew, who is now traveling the world, playing with, Jay-Z, and playing with Maxwell, and my other one playing with Bruno Mars and the Jonas Brothers, and my son is out touring with a country artist named Billy McCurd. Billy Currington. It's amazing to me to think that you find your place and try to make sure that you are diligent. It's a due diligence with what you've been given, but know that it's not just you. So you want to look back and say that you passed the ball on well, that you leave some kind of legacy. And where that concern stacks, I'm constantly sort of finding the best way for me to contribute, because the caveat is that I've traveled, and I sort of my life and career, my calling have led to this season where now I was in Japan until Thursday, and then before that I was in South Africa, and then I'm going to Europe, and so for me, I have to find the best way for me to contribute, not disruptively, because there's a sort of, with kids you need to have consistency. So we have an amazing staff here. What I do is I get a chance to inspire the kids, hopefully, and even the staff, to advise them, and sometimes say, what, should we try maybe this instead of that. But it's a pleasure and an honor, and there's no place in the world like soul.
On Rev.
All right, we've been kicking it, just cutting up off camera. I think off camera is message has been in a live format, even right now, than on camera. Is that on?
I'm trying testing.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, I know. You said turn my mic on. All right. See, now the host is out of pocket. You see, this is unscripted. We just have to. Don't laugh at me, but don't laugh at me.
They fussing at me though, Red.
Don't laugh at me.
Cut your mic on. Cut your mic on. I was scared of her too. I'm praying. I'm like, I'm cutting it off. Where is Jesus when I need him?
She had, wait a minute, watch this. She had a big skillet off camera, and she was coming this way to make sure. All right, I'm gonna stop. You see, we're gonna have a good time here. We're gonna ready to have a good time. But now, let me set this premise so that you all are clear. Because sometimes you watch this show and you try to ask yourself the question: how do you have the varied types of guests that you have on? How does all of this fit with Black Thought? Well, now, let's get historical and serious for just a moment as we talk about African-American black comedy. We needed comedy when we came out the slave quarters to deal with our situations, and it was a satirical way to speak truth to power. And when you consider what comedians have meant to us in our history, when you consider how some of the comedians that we've had have become activists and have steered our people. You think about people like Dick Gregory. You even go back old school, think about Godfrey Cambridge, Butterbeans and Susie. You think about Moms Mabley. You think about the messages that they put down. Black comedians have been in the center of actually helping to shape our thought. And so today, we are blessed to have someone who has been there, who has been out there, and he has done just about every major venue there is. And on top of that, he has a way, he's been called by some the Tupac of comedy. He has a way of taking everyday situations and putting a twist on them and causing you to look at them through a different prism and a different lens. So we have Brother Lester Bibbs with us. See, you didn't know I was going to get deep.
Man,
like
you was
that.
on point. I was like this. Who coming? Oh, me? Oh, man.
As you can tell, we're going to have fun. But now let's do this. Talk to us. You're from Memphis. Shout out some folk. You know, this is the home station, so go ahead.
It's home station.
Yeah.
I want to shout out all my family, especially. She just came.
The woman with the skillet just came back. See, wait a minute. I'm trying to do a show, y'all, and these Negroes off screen are coming with skillets threatening the guest. You see how a comedian froze up. How does that happen? Baby, I'm sorry. I'm gonna pull up. Go ahead.
She got that authority. I'm like, She's like, you shout out Lil Charles. Lil Charles? Who is Lil Charles? Just shout him out. I'm like, word to Lil Charles. There wasn't too many black comics out there. If you wasn't Eddie Murphy, Richard Pryor, Bill Cosby, you couldn't get your shot. And they made you be squeaky clean all the time and all of this other stuff. So Steve was like, socks. That's what he used to call me. Socks. We're going to go up and you be clean. You don't say this and you don't say that. And I'll be like, okay. They'll go up and do theirs, then they'll bring me on. I'll be like, oops. But I helped change the game, though. It changed the whole, because you should be able to. And Pryor kept telling me, he said, don't pay attention to that. Keep doing what you're doing. But they ain't going to work me. He was like, so I'll work you. And then I kept doing it, and they didn't work me. And Pryor was like, I'm going to get to you. I'm like, Richard, I'm getting skinny. So finally, everything worked out, and it helped change the whole game. And I'm thankful I stuck with it. I know it was the longer road, the harder road, but and I can do clean comedy easy. I just wanted that freedom of speech thing to be able to be out there.
Well, let's address that, especially, and we kind of talked about this off air. Now I'm the pastor, Dr. Hutchinson.
Absolutely.
Sitting here talking to Lester Bibbs, who, uses a few Negro French words in his comedy. And so y'all are probably wondering, first of all, how did you put him on? And second of all, how do you know? Well, first of all, we're cool. So this is not somebody getting him to come and then we're faking what's here. No, I know him. I've seen him do his act. Matter of fact, I was praying as I was sitting there because he was saying some things, and I could see him looking at the corner of his eye, seeing how I was going to react. But that's a whole nother conversation. See, he's falling out. He doesn't know what I'm going to say. This is unscripted. But one of the reasons I'm pausing here, and he kind of left this intro for me, is we got to understand that what comedy is, comedy, as well as the arts, paints with broad strokes, and it does it in a way, sometimes it arrests your attention by how it does it. You know, it doesn't always do it in a formatted sort of way, but it's done to arrest you and make you think. Now,
Absolutely.
there are some folk that cuss funny. That's not comedy. We're talking about how you speak truth to power.
Yeah.
So now, I was a mister before I was a pastor, before I was saved. So let me just open this up.
Yes, sir.
One of the formative shaping things in my life was the first day when I was on the playground and somebody was playing Richard Pryor.
Oh man, Rich, the king.
Yeah.
True king. And
And then when you hear jokes like they talk about it's justice, but when you go down to the jail, it's just us. Ever been to 201 Poplar? But see, when you start to look at that, when you hear Chris Rock say things like, you know, it's good to be rich, but it's better to be wealthy.
Yeah.
And we focus on Shaq, and Shaq is rich, but we need to look at the person who writes Shaq's check.
check. Yeah.
So, you know, I know sometimes the rapping is not what you want to see, but we need all kinds of folk in the kaleidoscope. That's like the Charles Ramsey piece. Everybody talking about this brother, you know, he doesn't have a suit on, his hair a little this way, you know, but the bottom line, he says some things that you think are crazy, but the bottom line, while we're suited and booted, he's the one that went in so that those girls could be free.
Absolutely.
So understand, you know, art has to be a little wider and broader sometimes than what we think it ought to be. And then the last thing, I know, sound like I'm getting ready to preach.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm with you, Red.
But the last thing is, when you look at comedy, comedy is similar to, well, preaching and comedy have some parallels, and comedy is similar to a parable.
Yeah.
In a parable, is set up so that you understand the parameters of the story, and then the hook is the punchline of comedy. Let me help you, for those of you watching this. Check this out. Good Samaritan, Charles Ramsey again.
Yeah.
There was a man, because Jesus was talking to this man, this Jewish ruler, who said, and who is my neighbor? So check out what Jesus does. He says, all right, you want to be smart? Let me break this parable down to you. There was a man traveling from Jerusalem to Jericho. The Jews already knew that on that road, people got mugged all the time. All right? So the man gets mugged. Okay, we're tracking with you, Jesus. But now a priest and a Levite walk down the road, see the man in the gutter, keep walking. Wait a minute. They're supposed to stop and help him. But who stops? A Samaritan. Oh, Jesus, we don't like Samaritan. He stops. So see now how that punchline comes in?
Absolutely.
And then at the end, after the Samaritan does his job, Jesus says to the expert in the law, okay, who was the neighbor? The Samaritan. Jokes operates in a similar way. So
Absolutely.
when you look at black comedy, sometimes you have to have the rapping of some of the stuff you hear in order for the common person to hear it. Now, if it's not your cup of tea, you know Bill Cosby does his thing. There are others that do their thing. But the bottom line is we need this.
Yeah.
We don't need this.
Yeah.
So that's why we're having this conversation in this way. So
Absolutely.
he's not, I already showed him this. All right, so he let me say in play, he ain't gonna cuss today. All right, but
Not while I'm in here.
not while he's in here.
But when I leave.
When he leaves, as soon as he hits that door right there, well, all right, I'm sorry, I'm gonna pull up. I'm gonna behave me, because already look, for some people, they don't know that I can get like this. I'm already out of pocket.
Oh, we tripping though. This my man. They don't understand. We boys. That's my man.
Right here at the Grindhouse, I just had a black thought. Go Grizzlies and believe in Memphis. my mean strum, djembe drum. Al Green, Willie Mitchell, Love and Happiness. Wow, what a black thought.
Love and happiness. But wait a minute, something's going wrong. Someone's wrong.
Break. Last week, we did a setup. We talked about several views on the presence of black people in the Bible. We talked about the pre-Adamite view, where it says basically that we as African people, people of African descent, are not descended from Adam, but we were descended from Cain, and Cain found his wife who existed before Adam. So the bottom line is, Cain couldn't find one of the young women his age, but Cain had to reach past his daddy's age and had to go and get a grandmama to be his wife and to populate the earth with black folk. And a lot of churches of other or a few churches of other persuasions used to teach this. I believe that some of those who want to wear those white hoods and those white sheets, they teach this. They teach that we are not human, but that we are subhuman. But then when you start to look at Scripture, Scripture does not teach that there was a woman, there was a man before Adam. So people using the Bible, saying that this is in the Bible, is not true. They are guilty of what we would call in seminary eisegesis instead of exegesis, when that means you get in the text, you pull it apart, you try to see what's there. They're guilty of eisegesis. They take a text and they make the text say what they want it to say. I'm going to give you an example of that. James, you know that the text we like to quote, if you ask not, you have not because you ask not. And you know how people like to quote that? But see, they leave out the next verse where it says, and when you ask for selfish desires so that your lust may be fulfilled. They don't talk about that part. They just lift the first part out, take it out of context, and make it suit their purposes. That's eisegesis. And so, be clear, that pre-Adamite view doesn't work. Second view was that Cain was born white. But then when Cain killed his brother Abel, the Lord marked him with blackness, and all of his descendants since were marked with blackness. Now, this is where exegesis comes in. It's not difficult, y'all, not with this. You just have to go back and read Genesis chapter 4. When you look at Genesis chapter 4, somewhere around the 14th verse, Cain says, because I've killed my brother, others are going to try to kill me. And so I'll be a wanted man in the earth. God said, I'll fix it. I'll put a mark on you so that anyone who sees you will not kill you. Now, first of all, even before we go there, the original man had a permanent tan. The word Adam, gives reference to the ground in the original text. So I've never seen white ground. If you see white ground, it's an anomaly. The ground, the earth, is normally either ruddy in color or it's brown in color. And sometimes it's deep brown, like this deep brown. It's deep brown in color. So the original man looked like you, looked like me. So to say that God all of a sudden made the original man who was already a black man black, that's crazy. And the text does not substantiate that. The bottom line is that God put the mark on Cain. It was an individual mark on him so that he wouldn't be killed. It was not generational. It was occasional. It was just for him. But now we get to the next view, dealing with Noah. We talked about Noah. Noah got drunk. And to pretend like I'm Brother Harper, Dr. Harper, who was on before me, he probably got stressed over 100 by dealing with 140 years of doing God's work. God told him to build the ark, took him 100 years, went through all kind of ridicule, had to round up the animals, had to put them on the ark. The ark was floating 40 days and 40 nights, went through all of that. I said 140 years, really 100 years, and then 40 days and 40 nights. But the bottom line is, after all of that, he was stressed, he made himself a vineyard, and he proceeded to get drunk. Now, Bible doesn't talk against drinking, and I know some of you might disagree with that, but the Bible takes issue with getting drunk, although in many places in Scripture, it shows the depravity of man as an example of how we really are. It's like looking in the mirror. And so here we're looking in the mirror at Noah. Noah was so drunk, he didn't realize that he was covered up by his two boys until after he woke up and found out the information. And then he found out that Ham saw him naked, and instead of Ham doing something about it, Ham went and told his two brothers. The Bible doesn't tell us whether he told somebody else, but the bottom line is Noah was drunk, Noah was naked, and it was a disgrace when you look at the ancient mind to see a parent like that and not address it and keep it quiet. So basically what Noah did, Noah probably observing Canaan from a distance, because recognized that Ham had several other children other than Canaan, he said, "Cursed be Canaan." So bottom line is, God didn't curse him, Noah cursed him. And the bottom line of what Noah was saying is, Canaan just going to be like his low-down daddy Ham. Ham should have covered me up. Ham should not have dealt with me in this way. My other two boys covered me up. They're blessed. Ham is low down. Canaan's going to be just like Ham.